All right, everyone. This is going to be the follow-up conversation to the discussion about the addiction center of the brain, the nucleus accumbens. Your posts and comments on the discussion board were just fine. I'm not going to directly map exactly to what you said. I'm just going to cover some new information. I've basically put together a file. It's the addiction follow-up file. What I'd like you to do is it has all sorts of detailed information in it. Type up basically a summary from each section, and I will basically give some acoustic comments here on some of the sections. Some other sections I'll just ask that you do on your own. So if we start with the outline, maybe Roman numeral number 1, the pleasure centers of the brain. The nucleus accumbens definitely is the key area of the brain. It seems when this area is stimulated, dopamine as the neurotransmitter is released, and this causes the organism to get addicted to whatever behavior it's doing. In the original studies with Olds and Milner, this was bar pressing. So dopamine seems to be the key. It does say serotonin there as well, but don't worry so much about that. The nucleus accumbens, as it points out, is part of the mesolimbic. It's in the midbrain of the it's in the midbrain, the nucleus accumbens, and it's in the mesolimbic tract. It doesn't look like it actually says that in this part of the outline, but it is indeed in that area. If we go down to the next section, they basically talk about that this is kind of the reward center of the brain, that if this area is stimulated, you'll want to do this kind of behavior. And it's kind of interesting, the difference between the word motivation and addiction. Motivation gets you going to do a behavior, but if it goes too far, that can obviously be an addiction. Motivation and reward section, appetitive versus aversive motivation. Go through and summarize that to the best of your knowledge. I don't have too much to add to that, but read through it and see what it has to say. And then the idea of the behaviorism part as well. Go through that and see if you can map that to the conversation. What's the next section I want to comment on? A biological basis of appetitive motivation and reward. Once again, the idea there, if you go down in physiological psychology, the study you saw was the classic Olds and Milner study, where if you deliver brain stimulation, the organism, the animal, will press it at a high rate, over 6,000 times per hour, just to get brain stimulation in this area. They continue down and go that if you have starvation, choice between obtaining food and water for brain stimulation, you'll basically follow through with that. So read that section and outline the key points. It's actually if you look at page 4, the key area in the mesolimbic section is called the medial forebrain bundle, is the area where the mesolimbic and the nucleus accumbens are located. These are dopamine containing areas. The other area is called the ventral tegmental area, not so much involved here. So this has been done. If you look back at the paragraph on page 4, right before reward substrates, they even report that in humans, when you stimulate this area, it feels like an intense sexual orgasm. I guess that's a little different than an intense sexual orgasm. Never mind. Bad joke there. So the idea is this seems to be the key area for addiction. Reward substrates for chemical brain stimulation. Read through that. They go down in that section and basically say just about everything. Amphetamine, cocaine, heroin, they all cause animals, if they're delivered, to cause animals to have stimulation in this key area of the brain. Even alcohol, barbiturates, caffeine, marijuana, and nicotine seem to do this kind of stuff as well. So read through that section and summarize it. Let's see, the ventral tegmental reward system. If you want to add a few comments about that, you're certainly more than welcome to. Maybe a paragraph summary of that. And let's see what else we got as we go down the outline here. The pursuit of pleasure, when does it become pathological? That's the whole problem here, that it can get you to be motivated and do things, but then if you get addicted to something, how do you let that go? And it's really hard to get that to occur. So they talk about that, motivational toxicity. I think it's a nice term. So are things addictive at the behavioral level? And it's probably based on this pathway of the brain. They continue down to the epilogue. They talk about a few studies to maybe help things, and they talk about the deep brain stimulation. Read through that and kind of summarize that in terms of what it's saying. And then, what is it, number 4 here? Not sure why I put it at number 4 here, but I did. Experimentations and individual differences in this. So read through that and kind of summarize that information as well. That's even for pathological gambling, family history, and alcoholism. Once again, the idea is this area may be very important in that. Then they get down to number 5, dopamine signaling in the nucleus accumbens. Yes, that this is the main idea. Animals will stimulate and will press a bar just to get dopamine up there, and that seems to be the key neurotransmitter. Finally, in number 6, they talk about the nucleus accumbens and even glutamate causing the same types of things. So this seems to be the key area of the brain. Go through these things and kind of summarize them. And then the last thing I'd like you to do is, we did talk a little bit about treatment for addiction. I'd like you to go to the National Institute on Drug Abuse and see if you can find what they actually have to say about current approaches to treat addiction, and see if you can map that at all back to the nucleus accumbens and these related systems. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.